Alright guys, this is Skinless, the guild leader for the Alliance Guardians, and today we're going to be talking about unlocking and 7-starring Thrawn, and we're going to look at two different ways of doing it. As you know, we have a total of 6 different Phoenix characters, so this really opens up for two combinations. The most common combination that you're going to find is going to be Hera, Ezra, Kanan, Zeb, and Chopper, whereas some will replace Chopper with Sabine. Now, the Sabine run is definitely more difficult, in my opinion. I didn't realize that the first time I ran this, and of course I decided to give it a try with Sabine. So it took me a little longer the first time I did this, so let's go ahead and go to the event and start off with the tier 5. We'll do tier 5, 6, and 7 with the traditional lineup, and then we will look at doing this with Sabine afterwards. So my characters are a little bit more geared than you may be looking at. Even with your 7-star run initially, you can run this with gear 8 Phoenix, so it's not required. They are a little bit higher, specifically because I've been working on the ships for my home 1 team, but it all works relatively the same when you look at the mechanics. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at Hera here, and I've got some speed and some health on her. That's kind of just the standard combination when you're just going for going quick and going for a little bit of survivability. The things to look at here to succeed best at the lower levels, especially if you're not level 85 yet, or if you're just getting started, is going to be which Omegas you need and which ones you don't. So I don't have Zetas on any of the standard lineup. I do have the Zeta on Sabine. Definitely not required. Just made it a little easier when I got to it at the time I did with the gear levels I did when I was doing the harder run. So you're going to want to look at a few different things here, specifically her, let's see, so plate of strengths. This is going to be her, where she calls an assist, and this target ally has 50% more potency, deals 35% more damage. If the target ally is Phoenix, which of course they are at this point, dispel all, well, let's see, so if you got the Zeta on here, you get some of the extra stuff on there, but this is a 25% potency, I apologize, and the 35% more damage. Either way, you are getting these extra bonuses to that individual, and you'll see how that kind of works out and how important that really is. Backup plan is going to be your saving grace. This is where she specifically gives this buff where the ally recovers 10% health per turn, revives with, and then the revive is really the key, where they revive with 80% health and 30% turn meter when defeated, which can't be dispelled or prevented. Now, that's to be determined as far as for the prevented, because Fracture from Thrawn is going to, the way it's written, is going to prevent this. So if you're playing with this team in any game mode, you're going to find that even if you have the backup plan on them, they will not revive. They don't come back. So the other one here, this is probably the most important. If you're going to do any Omegas, and specifically make sure that you have Omegas in your Phoenix team, this is the first one you're going to want to have, because each active Phoenix ally grants their unique ability to other Phoenix allies. In addition, whenever a Phoenix ally uses a special ability, they gain 20% turn meter if Hera is active. This effect is doubled for Phoenix allies with less than full health. So the concept of using the special abilities there, you're going to be using that plate of strengths pretty consistently, and that's going to give additional turn meter out onto the field, and you'll kind of see how that works out. We can then look at Zeb. Uniques are really the only Omegas that you are really required to have. I have them all on them just because it was something I was able to do at the time, but you only really need the Omegas on the Uniques, so because they're all shared at that point. So Zeb has bonus max protection equal to 40% of his max health, and it recovers 15% at the start of his turn. This recovery is doubled if Zeb is debuffed. So everyone is going to get that additional protection, which is great for survivability. You really want that there. He has some other great things as far as for his his stagger and his days they can inflict. I went speed and potency there just to get some more of the debuffs that you can throw out there. And again, just want to get him faster. I mean, he's not super fast, 150. Even though I got a speed set there, he's 150 speed. He is slow. So you really don't need fast characters. In fact, my Hera and Ezra are both 205 speed. They're the only characters, though, with that additional speed, which you may have seen in my Palpatine video. So if you're going to look again at the unique, getting a Zeta on there, or not Zeta, the Omega, Ezra gains 10% offense at the end of his turn. This effect can stack up to 40%. This bonus is reset when Ezra is defeated. So everyone's going to get the extra offense and dealing more damage, which is great. So now they're more survivable and they're getting more damage, which is very important. His watch and learn ability is the other big one there, getting to bring more bonuses to the table. I do recommend the Omega here. So the target ally attacks, then Ezra assists them, dealing 20% more damage. Both attackers gain a bonus effect based on the chosen ally's roll. Now, we're going to be calling Hera to assist consistently. She's a support character, so you're getting 40% turn meter right there. Plus, because this is a special, you do actually get 60% turn meter instead, getting everyone going a lot faster. So, even if you don't have high speed, you can make this team work really well to your advantage. Cannon is our tank, just full of health. He is extremely slow at 120, but tanks really don't need that extra speed. His unique is going to be that Cannon has a 70% counter chance and recovers 25% health whenever he is debuffed. Again, this goes across the field, so everyone's going to be counterattacking every time they're hit, which is great. Chopper here, we're going to be looking at, I threw some health in there and some speed. Once again, he's another tank. I want to get him still going a little bit faster. He's 183 speed, nothing out of the ordinary there. Has the plus 31s. That's not a whole lot of extra. I don't have a lot of extra put on him. And his unique is going to be that at the start of his turn, Chopper recovers 15% of his max health. In addition, whenever he is damaged by an attack, he gains protection up. If he doesn't have protection up, additionally, Chopper has a 30% chance to assist when another Phoenix or droid ally uses an ability during their turn. This assist is not shared with Phoenix allies. So, I mean, you don't get some parts of this here, but you do get some of the additional bonuses, which is great. Which Chopper's awesome for a lot of other droid teams, which is why I put Sabine in with my Phoenix, but he works really well. That's why he's the best in that in traditional. And once again, I'll show you real quick with Sabine here. Now, if you're looking at her unique, you have the 24% crit chance and crit damage, which is really nice, again, to put out a little bit more, especially with working with Ezra's offense that he's sharing around the field. The demolish ability that I have Zeta'd here, if anyone's interested, is specifically just adding a lot of debuffs to your enemy when she does her AoE. So if you look, I mean, the kit is massive comparatively when you add on that Zeta. Not required. I just found it very useful, in my opinion. So we'll go ahead and jump right into this here, since we got a few runs to go through. And with kill orders, you always want to kill your Stormtrooper commanders first, because they're going to be the ones that are doing all the healing. Being that this is tier 5 and I've got my 7-star characters, they're going to be a little more powerful than, say, your first run at this. So you're probably going to be using a lot of your assists consistently, and you're always going to want to call Ezra to do the assists. Now, at this point, he's just wrecking everybody as it goes along, but it's going to remain the same no matter what your damage output is. If you're at my point where you could just start doing your basics, that's great. I can call in the assist here again if I needed for whatever reason, but not necessarily needed. And Ezra does have that extra attack that he throws in there, which is great. I do not recommend removing the taunts here. Just commit to a Stormtrooper and take them down. It's if you spend too much time trying to remove those taunts like you would in any other these kind of battles, it's not worth it. So we've got a Stormtrooper commander. You can always tell by the backpack. Don't be confused for the Magma Trooper, though. So you always want to give him a little click and just see what they've got going on there. We're going to want to go ahead and take him out first. Again, if you're not getting these extra, the damage up, this is still the kill order. You just might want to use more of your specials. Plus, that's going to give you a lot more turn meter. So you're still going to be pumping out a lot more damage as you go around. I did kill the Magma Trooper just so that way he wasn't hidden away by the taunt. But that doesn't necessarily make or break the mechanic there. So from here, Death Trooper is definitely going to be the scariest toon out there during this event. Just they apply a lot of nasty things your way, and definitely deal a lot of damage. So. And you're going to get a lot of times with that counter chance, especially if you do the uniques and get those uniques out there, you'll get a lot of counters, and there's going to be a lot of extra damage out there that you would not have gotten it before. I do recommend playing this event with the sound up. A lot of the events, you just get a lot of the pew-pew sounds and a lot of the extra little things here and there. But I found that out of any event that I've ever played, out of any of the events completely, that the music that is played during the Thrawn event is probably the coolest out there. At this point, if you had not gotten a lot of the assists out there like I had, initially you've got the Death Troopers that you're going to want to take down. I don't worry as much about the Stormtrooper commander at this time because Death Trooper is going to be doing a lot more going on with his Deadeye there. This unit has 100% critical hit chance. So, I mean, he's going to be taking you down pretty easily if you don't get to these tunes fast enough. So, Death Trooper really needs to go down first. If you have anyone in the way, they need to go down. So you can get back to your Death Trooper. So you can always remove remove the taunts at that point. I'm probably going to go ahead and call Zeb in there just to get some extra assists. And as you can see, it's pretty easy. But once again, my tunes are 7-star, and that was the 5-star tier. So there is a bit of a, it's not quite as fair. So we're going to go ahead and go into tier 6 here. And this is very similar to tier 5, I would say, except for you're going to have your enemies going to be boosted up a little bit. They got more health. They're going to be dealing a bit more damage. If you can get away with the single kill where you know your next move is going to get the kill out there, you can do that, especially in this first tier right here. Maybe not in the third wave. I would probably still want to just ensure that that thing is dead so that you can go into that final battle with all of your tunes. Surviving is really the key. The first 3 waves really isn't anything special. You can usually get through those pretty quick. It's the 4th wave that gets everyone, it seems like. So I'm saving a lot of my specials here for when I do get to that spot with the final battle. I do want to have all my abilities ready to go. Once again, I've checked the field here. As you can see, I've clicked on multiple different things. Make sure I'm knowing what I'm attacking, and I'm specifically going after the commander since he has that heal. TIE fighter pilots are going to give a lot of nasty debuffs as well with their AoE, so I do go after those next, followed by the Magma Trooper. And no matter what rate you're killing them at, you can still follow this kill order. The only thing that's going to get in your way is going to be that Stormtrooper there, which you can dispel his taunt. So that would be the best way to get around that without having to use too many extra moves. No one's a real big damage dealer other than those Death Troopers. I don't want the Death Troopers healing, so I do take out the commander there. And it does look like I'm getting a lot of those counters, which is great. In an ideal world with RNG, you're going to get a lot of those counter hits. So I could have, at that point, gone ahead and dispelled, but I knew that my tunes were going to put out enough damage to make it through and survive. So we're going to go ahead and go into tier 4, and You know, Thrawn's waiting for us. Nothing cool cinematic-wise there with tier 6. So the counters, at least they took out the main problem that we initially had, which was nice to not have to worry about that stormtrooper and, you know, consistently getting rid of his taunt. This is where I usually will end up using Hera's revive, and I'm gonna pick somebody to taunt because Cannon is fractured. I'm actually gonna want to have Chopper doing the taunt, and he's gonna go ahead and bring everyone over his way. So that way Cannon isn't taken out with that fracture in place. So that's going to keep you surviving by passing around who has what, and keeping the person who's fractured from being the target per se. So we've gone ahead and taken out the Death Trooper. We're getting kind of close there, and you'll sometimes find that you'll get to the point where, like, oh man, I've just got Thrawn left, but all my tunes are, you know, really, really low. Some people will go straight after Thrawn. I have found that to be rather ineffective, just because he does get that heal from the commander. And I'm going to want to try to get as many debuffs out here as I can. Using Zeb's second ability does put out the daze and the stagger and a few other things out there, so we want to debuff him as best we can, and we're just going to keep passing around this extra Terminator, since Hera's going to keep going over and over and over again, which is the whole point of the reason why you pass that back and forth with Hera and Ezra. So you just get more and more turns with her, so she can save more people from falling apart there, or she can call another assist if she needs for someone else. But Ezra's your damage dealer, so you really want him to be called from her. So tier 7 is a bit different. They added a little bit more to it. Again, you get the additional health on the enemies. You get the extra damage output from them. So you're seeing I'm doing a lot of these call to assist, just passing the turn meter around. Everyone's going to go ahead and taunt, so pick a single stormtrooper and just start wailing on that individual one. Doesn't necessarily matter what moves you have. I have found that if I'm going to use specials during the mission, I will try to ensure that my cooldowns are refreshed by the time that I do get to the next tier. So I start every tier a little fresh. And so we've got just kind of going back and forth. I know we are in wave 1, so I mean, you're usually going to be able to walk through this pretty easy. The reason why I do recommend a kill order specifically, at least type of tune, is for that survivability aspect, to make it to that last tier so that you're not going to have to keep dying in like phase in part 2 or part 3 kind of thing. You do want to follow that to ensure that you're going to get your victory, which the cool thing about this team is that you're not just building it for Thrawn, you're building it for so many other things. In fact, this team right here gets you set up for the Grandmaster Yoda event. It gets you set up for, I mean, you get set up for Chimera, you get set up for, this is usually your first arena team that you get going, and I just attacked a Death Trooper, but we still want to go after those commanders. He's out of the way, I can just go ahead and finish that guy off anyway. So the Magma Troopers, they don't deal a lot of damage per se, but they are annoying, especially if you've got someone kind of lower down. We're about to get into the next tier, so I'm probably going to use my basics, since I know that I could, if you needed to heal at this point too. The other thing that you could do is you can, so you've got Chopper's additional ability here that's going to go ahead and, you know, get some protection up. You've got the option for Zeb using his extra ability here. Let's pull that up there. So he's going to give the 50% of protection up to a target ally. So you have that a few different options there, as well as you get something with the cannon as well for the heals. So if you need to heal up as you're going, because these uniques aren't doing enough for you, which they should with the Omegas, if they aren't, you do want to pass that around. I usually will give Hera the additional protection or any other bonuses, only because I want her to really last. If she lasts, that's the best. So now she's fractured, which is really not good. I'm going to go ahead and probably still call... we're going to go ahead and remove the taunt. And start going after, say the Death Troopers as we want. So let's see if we can go ahead and get that going there. So we can go ahead and call Zeb in to assist, and so he's taking a little bit of a beating. I could give the taunting tune that extra protection up, since they are going to be the one taunting, and if they're taunting, well, everyone's going to be hitting them, so you do want them to survive. So we're going to kind of keep moving them around, forcing them to spread their attacks around the field rather than just into one singular direction. Unlike the other waves per se, I worry about the Death Troopers more than the Commanders because of that extra crit. It's nasty business, and a lot of times you can lose players here, or your tunes here, just depending upon how the fracture goes. If you get the fracture at the wrong time, that really can mess up your run, but it's not impossible to pull out of. So just because you get into kind of a bad spot, I don't recommend forfeiting right away. Give it a try, see if you can pull something out. I've seen people where they've had just one tune left and you're in the red, and they still get Thrawn at the last second. They just happen to barely survive. So we can pass around some, say if Hera needs a little extra protection, Zeb needs the extra bit there to make sure that he survives. Oh, there we go. So he came back, which is great. And you can see, even with my higher damage output, Thrawn is just taking a lot of the damage in, and it's barely making a dent. So you really have to hit him quite a few times to get that, to get him down. Once he gets down into his health pool, he does go down relatively quickly. It's just that protection. He's got a lot of it. So we got to expose there. That's great. So you can see we already got him down to that yellow mark within a couple hits. And Ezra's just cranking out a lot of extras there. I do have a lot of offense on his secondaries, which helps out quite a bit. But that's going to be your standard lineup there to take out the 7th tier of the Thrawn event there. And then the other way you could do it is, we're going to go ahead and pull Chopper out and throw Sabine in. It's very similar as far as for the way that you run your kill order. Just a little bit more damage output, but you don't have that extra individual taunting as needed, or the additional cleanse. So that can be frustrating when Thrawn is saying that he has gone ahead and fractured, say, the wrong tune per se. You could get into a worse spot than if you were able to say, okay, well, Chopper can just come out and do this. But what you do gain is a lot of attacking benefits. So Sabine has not just her demolition, which has her AoE with a lot of extra debuffs when you get the Zeta, but it gives a lot of buffs to your guys without just having the standard run for it. And then she also has her armor shred, which is it's a nice thing for getting additional damage out there, because then we're going to be looking at ignoring some of that additional armor that they've got, since you've gone ahead and essentially put a hole in it. So this run's rolling, I'd say, fairly well as far as for making sure that everyone is still full health, protection almost, just because, again, those Omegas on their unique, you really cannot beat those. So if you're debating about what you're going to do as far as for putting abilities on these characters, I do recommend at least the uniques. You do have to be at level, I want to say it's level 80 to have the Omegas, either 70 or 80, but even without that point, you could still get a 5-star Thrawn at least, or maybe even 6-star Thrawn without the Omegas. It just makes it a lot easier. 7-star, I really do hold true to the idea of having all of those Omegas to make your team work. Any additional Omegas are quite nice, but you really don't need to invest a lot into your Phoenix unless you are expecting to run the Millennium Falcon with Home 1 and the Phantom and Ghost, essentially. So no one's almost dead yet, so we are gonna just use the basic. We don't need to use anything like, okay, so Hera's been has been fractured, so we're gonna go ahead and use the demolition here to get some of those staggers out there and kind of play around the field as best as we can. Take away the taunt, and then see if we can go ahead and go after our Death Troopers. So as you can see, the damage output and all the extra bits that we were talking about are really prevalent here. You do get a lot more damage done to you, and it does take a lot longer to kill these tunes. So I mean, we're kind of in a spot where what you kind of would come to expect per se, where the tunes they're getting a little lower on their health, they're getting a little bit lower on the protection. It's questionable how things are going to go. You never know. I don't have that extra tank to taunt for Hera, to get her to have time to go forward with healing. So we could, I mean, if we aren't ability blocked, start using some of the special abilities to get that extra health and protection on her. So there we go. So now we can go ahead and start just chipping away at Thrawn. And once again, same kind of thing. I'm just kind of going all out at this point, just using any and all of my tactics. We're going to use the Armor Shred there. Armor Shred, you can see, is they eat the 50% loss in defense per stack. Can't be dispelled or resisted. It's not a standard debuff, so it runs a little bit differently there. Now, those don't really tend to stack with Sabine, whereas they do with like Zalbar or in certain specific events. But you can see it still can be done, but it is a little bit harder of a run to use Sabine in Chopper's place. You do need all 6 for their ships, but who you gear and what you decide to run with is really up to you. And I hope that you enjoyed seeing both runs there and have your 7-star Thrawn. And if you have any questions, always feel free to DM me on the Discord. All right, thank you so much. Bye-bye.